Hello everybody, I am in Nick Berry's shop today in Green Bay, Wisconsin, accompanied by Jay Bates. Now, if you don't know who these two guys are, then both of their channels are linked for you in the description below. Now, as you know, I mostly stick with pocket holes and dados for my go-to joinery method. But since I am hanging out with these two guys, I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of it and learn a new technique called Mortise and Tenon. So here's a compilation video of several different methods on how to get it done.
There are several variations to the mortise and tenon, but the very basic mortise and tenon is comprised of two parts, a mortise pocket and a tenon tongue. Right off the bat, the guy started me off with showing me the quickest method, which is to use a tool such as a domino, which is a tool that cuts perfect mortises for me. So by using a tool like this, I can cut in two mortises on the two pieces of wood that I'm wanting to join, then glue and insert two pre-made tenons. And it's really as simple as that. Now, while the domino is very quick and accurate, it is rather expensive. So a different method for cutting out mortises is to use a hollow chisel mortiser, which is pretty similar to a drill press. However, it accepts a very special bit that has a square and sharp outer shell that will cut a square hole. However, inside of it is an auger that actually carves away the majority of the wood when being used. And of course, these chisels or bits come in a variety of different sizes depending on how big or small you're needing your mortises to be. You can start off on either side making nice clean cuts on the beginning and start of the mortise, and then you can go through and carve away the center. So while this machine is not as quick as a domino, it's still a very easy method to get accurate mortises. Now, of course, I personally don't have a hollow chisel mortiser yet. So when I get back to my own shop, I will more than likely be using a third option for making the mortises, which is to use a drill press with a Forstner bit. And this is essentially the same method as using a hollow chisel mortiser, except I'm only making round holes and then having to come back with a chisel and squaring up the edges. And again, this is a little bit more time consuming, but it definitely works and makes a clean mortise. Then the final method that the guys taught me about making mortises is to use a router. However, Jay Bates already has an outstanding video where he explains his personal process with using a plunge router. So I've left a link for this video in the description below and highly recommend that you check it out. Not only does he do a great job on explaining the process, but he also shows you how to build a very inexpensive but great looking sofa table. Alright, now getting into two different methods on how to make the tenons. Now I'm in Nick's shop and he has made this wonderful crosscut sled and has also taken the time to build an accessory for cutting tenons. And this allows me to clamp my piece of wood in place to where I can raise the blade up to the height that I need the tenon cut and make one pass on each side of the board. Then I can unclamp it, lower the blade down, and make two more passes to cut these end bits away, and I now have a perfectly fitted tenon that goes right into the mortise. Now this is great if you have a crosscut sled, however I don't in my own shop. Not yet. So Jay showed me his method for cutting tenons that only requires the table saw and miter gauge.
And then for the 1/2 inch width, we'll come in from the outside of the tooth because that's the full length of the cut. And then we'll just nibble it away.
So just all depending on what you have and don't have, hopefully you're able to utilize one of these methods. Now, if you have a different method on cutting mortise and tenons, then please leave it in the comments below so that if somebody's watching this who's just exploring mortise and tenons, then maybe it could benefit them.
So just like everything else in woodworking, there's always going to be more than one way to get something done.
And I guess it depends on how often you're going to be doing mortise and tenons, deciding what method you're going to pick.
Yeah, and generally speaking, the more money you spend, the faster your results, but that doesn't mean you need to spend a ton of money. You can achieve great results with basically hand tools if you really wanted to.
Exactly. So if you want to check out how all three of us built this table using mortise and tenon joinery, then I will leave you a link in the description below. It is posted on Nick's channel. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.
You don't do the leg slap.
I definitely don't look like that.